On October 6, 2025, what should have been a day of safety became a day of heartbreak. April Kelly, a 45-year-old woman who had finally found the courage to leave, believed she was free. She believed she was safe. But sometimes, walking away from a toxic relationship does not end the danger. It only shifts it into something far darker. Why is it that even after breaking free, so many victims still end up caught in tragedy? This is Wednesday Crime Gist, where we uncover real stories of toxic relationships that spiral into heartbreak. Make sure you hit subscribe, and at the end, check the next video on your screen for another tragic case of a toxic marriage that took a devastating turn. April Kelly was 45 years old, living in Georgia, and to those who loved her, she was more than just a mother, a friend, or a sister. She was a fighter. People described her as kind, calm, and deeply respected. But behind closed doors, her relationship with Ricky Anderson was crumbling. For years, April had carried the weight of mistrust and disappointment. Ricky wasn't faithful. He wasn't loyal. And no matter how many times April forgave, the cracks only grew wider. Then came the day that changed everything. It started with a post on Ricky's Facebook page. At first glance, it was nothing unusual, just another status update. But then, the mother of Ricky's child left a comment underneath. A few simple words, but enough to expose what April had silently feared. Ricky had been cheating on her. For many people, that kind of betrayal would spark an argument, maybe even a confrontation. But April didn't do that. She didn't yell. She didn't plead. She didn't fight. Instead, she made a decision. That same day, she gathered her things and left Ricky behind. And she didn't stop there. April went to court and filed for a temporary protective order, commonly called a restraining order. She told the court she needed protection, that she no longer felt safe. Records later confirmed this filing, reported by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. In that moment, April did what so many are told to do: leave, protect yourself, and seek the law's help. She had taken every step people say is the right step. She did everything right, one friend later said. She left. She filed the paperwork. She was supposed to be safe. But sometimes, even when you do everything right, safety is only an illusion. After April left, Ricky Anderson's world began to spiral. He didn't quietly move on. He didn't reflect or show remorse. Instead, he went online. Within days, Ricky's Facebook page turned into a stage for his unraveling mind. He started going live, speaking to anyone who would watch, but mostly to himself. These weren't calm explanations. They were rambling, chaotic monologues where he tried to control the story, but in the process, exposed the truth. In one of those streams, Ricky leaned forward at the camera, his eyes darting back and forth. He said,
"Oh yeah, and for those that don't know, I had a TPO taken out on me against my own house. For my wife being angry at me. So you take a TPO out on me, and I'm not even supposed to be in my own house because you're mad. That is enough to make a man do something that he really don't want to do. Especially if that man has worked all his life, got his hands dirty, all his life. And you take that away because you're angry. Well, I'm angry too. Because I ain't gonna be no sucker.
These were the strange phrase dropped into the middle of his rant. He wasn't apologizing to April. He wasn't admitting fault to his family. He was speaking into the void of the internet, almost like he knew something terrible was already set in motion. He repeated the phrase, "I ain't gon' be no sucker," like he was trying to convince himself that walking away, letting April go, was weakness. And that weakness wasn't an option for him. But here's the haunting part. Every single word he said was a confession, even if he didn't realize it. He wasn't just venting. He was projecting. He was telling on himself. In psychology, projection is when someone pushes their own guilt, fear, or anger onto someone else. And that's exactly what Ricky was doing. He painted himself as the victim, claiming April had wronged him, while at the same time, his tone revealed an obsession he couldn't shake. He spoke of betrayal, of being played, of how people were watching him. His paranoia leaked through every sentence. Viewers who tuned in later described those lives as disturbing, like listening to a man already standing on the edge, daring gravity to pull him down. And all the while he overlooked the obvious truth. April wasn't there anymore. She had left him. She wasn't living in his house. She wasn't sharing his bed. She wasn't checking his Facebook page. That restraining order wasn't some act of rejection to humiliate him. It wasn't about kicking him out. It was a boundary, a legal wall meant to protect her. Because April had already made her choice. She was gone. But Ricky couldn't accept that. His obsession blurred reality. And instead of using his time online to heal or to reflect, he used it as a weapon, throwing words into the world that, piece by piece, revealed just how dangerous he had become. Every rant, every "God forgive me," every "I won't be no sucker," was not just a slip of the tongue. It was a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight to the darkness he was about to unleash. On October 6, 2024, Ricky Anderson went on Facebook once again. But this time his words weren't just rambling. They were haunting. He claimed that April had come to see him, secretly. Against everything she had worked so hard to escape. Why did she go back? That question will forever remain unanswered, but it is the question that breaks hearts. Was it about paperwork, like divorce documents, property, or unfinished business that forced her to face him? Was it guilt, April trying to offer a final word of closure, maybe believing she could handle it just one last time? Or was it manipulation, Ricky finding a way to pull her back in, using threats or sweet words that blurred the danger she already knew existed? We may never know. But what we do know is this: that visit was the last time anyone saw April alive. Later that day, her family grew worried. April wasn't answering her phone. She wasn't returning calls. And then came the moment that no loved one should ever have to face. Inside the very house she had escaped from, the place she had fought to leave behind, April Kelly and Ricky Anderson were both discovered lifeless. It was the nightmare her family feared, but could never truly prepare for. April had done everything right. She had left. She had sought protection. She had surrounded herself with family. She had started to rebuild her life. But in one vulnerable moment, one visit, all of it was stolen from her. The restraining order couldn't shield her. The court date set for October 21st would never arrive. As investigators pieced together the scene, one truth rose above everything else. This tragedy wasn't about one fight, one comment, or one bad night. It was about a pattern of control, obsession, and violence that ended in silence. And for her family, the heartbreak was summed up in one single reality. One visit. One decision. That's all it took. April Kelly's story is one of those tragedies that feels almost impossible to process, because she did everything that people are told to do. She didn't stay and fight in silence. She didn't try to fix what was broken. She walked away. She filed for a restraining order. She sought the protection of the law. She surrounded herself with family. And yet, it wasn't enough. Because restraining orders, as powerful as they sound, are only paper. They are meant to create a barrier, but they can't physically stop someone who is determined to cross that line. They can't change the mindset of a person who sees another human being not as a partner, but as property. This is the reality no one likes to talk about. The most dangerous moment isn't when a victim is still living inside the toxic relationship. It's when they finally decide to leave. That's when the control is broken. That's when the abuser feels exposed. And that's when the danger can reach its peak. Some people pointed to the Facebook comment from Ricky's baby mama as the spark that set everything off. But that wasn't the real story. Comments don't destroy marriages. Lies, betrayal, and violence do. The real story here was Ricky's mindset. To him, marriage wasn't about love. It wasn't about respect. It was about ownership. Till death do us part wasn't a vow of devotion. It was a threat, a sentence, a line he seemed determined to make literal. Even in his final days, the way he spoke revealed everything.
All because you're angry? Because I made a post and my baby mama commented on the post and it made you angry, so you go take a TPO out on me? Nah, Shona. We ain't gonna play it like that. God knows. I hope God forgive me. I hope God forgives me. I pray that He forgives me. People, please be careful when you're interfering with someone else's marriage. Especially if that man has did everything that he could. Provided shelter, worked hard all of his life. And for that to be taken from him because someone is angry, that will make a man furious. So
His refusal to accept that April could live without him. His haunting words, "I hope God forgives me," were less about regret and more about knowing the path he had already chosen. And that is the heartbreaking truth of April Kelly's story. She should have turned 46. She should have been celebrating birthdays, laughing with her children, building a new chapter in her life far away from the chaos she had left behind. Instead, her story is now a reminder, a chilling reminder, that walking away is only the beginning. And sometimes, tragically, that's when the real danger begins. If you found this story eye-opening, like and share this video, subscribe to Wednesday Crime Gist, where we dive into the darkest true stories of toxic marriages turned deadly. And don't stop here, check the next video on your screen for another shocking case of a toxic relationship that ended in deadly, this time on livestream.